Hi everyone, I'm Ian Harvey, massage therapist. Today we're going to be talking about dealing with self-doubt as a massage therapist. This is something that I have frequently experienced. It's something that I still experience 11 years in, and I think I've got some tips. I'm not completely done with my fears and doubts and all that, but I think I've come up with some ways of dealing with it that help me get through those things without internalizing them so much, and it makes my life easier and happier. We're going to do just a little bit of monologuing. We're going to do some Q&A, and then we're going to finish with some meditation, and that meditation is going to be pretty topical today because it's going to be on that self-doubt feeling and kind of sitting with it and working with it and allowing it to be some self-directed kindness. So join me, won't you? So today I'm going to talk about something that's been pretty constant through my career, and it's when I get a new client, or even if I'm just seeing a client for the second time, it could be my 10th time seeing them. Sometimes I'm sitting there for the entire massage thinking, oh, this is the worst massage ever. This is the worst massage ever. They hate it, they hate it, they hate it. Now, I should start by pointing out that this has never once been true. I've never once had the problem of me expecting my client to hate the massage and being correct. So those two things don't seem to correlate, and I want to make sure that I point that out right away. Because there's a phenomenon in the world of psychology that tracks pretty closely with this one, and it's called Impostor Syndrome. Impostor Syndrome is where experts are racked with doubt, and they may even think that they're going to be found out eventually, and this could happen at any time. People find out they're a fraud, and these people tend to be the actual experts, the people with this syndrome. This isn't a psychological disorder. You're not going to find this in the DSM-5, but it is something that is so common that it's been given a name. And I found, I really identify with this concept because it seems to describe some things that I go through. Whether it's teaching, whether it's massage, whether it's releasing a video. And the funny thing about imposter syndrome is that frauds, people who are actually bad at what they do, don't tend to get it. Con men aren't racked with doubt before they run a con. It's just people who are actual experts. I think it's important to realize that how common this is. I feel like something that perpetuates that imposter syndrome is that nobody ever talks about it. And so you kind of have to suffer in silence thinking that it's just me. I'm the only one who is about to be found out. So just keep that in mind. That's my first point. This phenomenon, let me describe what it's like for me. I'll typically feel this during a first or second massage, or on a day when I am having more anxiety or lower mood than usual. I'll feel this just kind of as a blanket over my enthusiasm, over my everything that I do. It's kind of a filter that I see everything through. And it's interesting that it correlates with lower mood, also known as depression. And it correlates with anxiety, also known as stress. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to come back to that. But when I'm experiencing this, I give slow massages, and so it's easy for me to sit there and question, is this person enjoying this speed? And I think that that's something that inadvertently speeds me up. It's something that can kind of change how I give my massage. And that sucks because I know better. I know that slow is often very effective, and it can be very powerful and profound. And so this is a way of psyching myself out, and That's one reason why I want to get rid of it, or at least deal with it. But another reason is that it's just unpleasant to sit there. I'm in minute 20 of a 90-minute massage, and my brain just keeps recycling this thought. This is a bad massage. This person is not enjoying this massage. The same thing with my self-refutations. I'm saying, of course they're enjoying this massage. Everyone enjoys these massages. It's massage. Massage is great. And I'm going to get back to that. I think that refuting these thoughts is good and it's important, but sometimes getting in that cycle of intrusive thought and refutation can be a little bit compulsive, and it can perpetuate stress, and it can perpetuate those thoughts recycling. So I've got some other strategies for when you're in that place. So in the psychology world, this is called rumination. For those who don't know, I have a master's in psychology. I don't know why. I thought I was going to maybe go on and get a doctorate and teach and maybe do counseling, but I didn't. I didn't want to ever touch another paper again after my thesis, and I haven't. So, so I do know a little bit about this stuff. That's where I'm getting my information, is from my master's program in applied and experimental psychology. I'm not saying that makes me an authority. Please verify everything I say, verify everything everyone says. But that's where I'm getting this information. I'm not just getting it from blogs and stuff like that. Although there are some good blogs out there. I have blogs. So rumination. Rumination is the phenomenon where thoughts recycle themselves. Rumination is very common in depression, where an intrusive thought, and I'm going to explain what that is in a moment, will present itself, you'll push it away, it'll present itself, you'll push it away again and again and again and again. And this can literally keep you up all night. These recycling thoughts can be enough to just keep you awake for hours. And this is a common time when people experience rumination. And, the massage room isn't that different. It's usually a darkened space. There's no one to really talk to except for yourself. And especially when we really kind of make a lot of our moves more automatic, it becomes easy for all of that extra mental energy to go into just beating ourselves up and self-abuse. It's unpleasant. So consider the environment. That there might be some changes that can be made there. I've figured out that I need a window in my massage room, or I'm going to go crazy. So future rooms that I get are definitely going to have a window. Same thing with music. I don't sit with music that drives me crazy, which I know isn't possible if you're working at a massage franchise or certain spas or things like that. When you're having these recycling thoughts, there are a few tried and true strategies for working with these. And pushing them away as hard as you can isn't one of them. Trying to force a thought away is a way of kind of giving it power. Forcing away that thought that this person doesn't like this massage, I'm not good enough, this isn't good enough, can kind of empower that thought and make it more distressing, which is messed up, because that feels like the right thing to do, to push it away. So keep that in mind next time you're experiencing this, and realize that there are other options other than pushing away. First of all, realize that noticing is important. This is something that I talk about a lot during when we do meditation here. That noticing when the mind flits off or the mind goes off on its own behavior can give you some control over what happens next. It can allow you to put on the brakes. It can allow you to pull back from distressing thoughts. So when you start to have these self-doubts and this negative self-talk, just notice that. And what you can do next is choose to step back. If you're having these recycling thoughts that are they're not doing anything positive for you. They're not helping you give a better massage. They're just kind of tormenting you. You can choose to mentally step back and kind of have a conversation with yourself. View this person who is going through this problem. Direct some compassion toward them and non-judgment. If this person is going through something, just ask yourself, what's this person going through? How is this affecting them? Where is this coming from? You don't need answers to any of these questions, but just asking these things as if from a remove can give you a little bit of emotional distance. And that can be very powerful. That can be all it takes to break that cycle of that ruminating, that perseverance of thought. Another strategy is, instead of stepping away from the thought, instead of pushing it away, is to sit with them. If you're having these feelings of self-doubt during a massage, if you're beating yourself up, thinking that this client doesn't like the massage, this is going poorly, instead of pushing away, embrace. Feel that negative feeling. Listen to that recycling thought. This massage is going poorly. They don't like the massage. I'm doing a bad job. And listen to it without judgment. Feel that feeling without judgment. Be fully present in that moment. Be fully present with yourself. And something that very frequently happens when you embrace these aversive, negative, unpleasant sensations and thoughts is that they lose some of their power. They kind of decelerate. Those thoughts slow down. The negativity lifts just a bit. The intensity will usually drop. And this is something that I've found to be true for many things that are related to my anxiety. That if I choose to sit with that anxiety, my anxiety about going live on the internet, if I choose to sit with that, that intensity slowly but surely drops. And once it's dropped enough, my brain just kind of naturally goes on to something else. I don't have to ruminate about upcoming massages or upcoming videos all day. I'll sit with it, the intensity reduces, and I get to go on with my life. It's a pretty neat trick. You can choose to step back. Excellent strategy. You can choose to embrace it and sit with it. These are both good strategies. So these are both things that I use. I kind of alternate. And distraction. Distraction is a perfectly valid way of dealing with negative self-talk and with intrusive thoughts. I told you earlier that I was going to define intrusive thoughts. These are thoughts that present themselves, they're distressing, and they serve no purpose. And they seem to have a mind of their own. They don't, and as you get better at noticing them come into your mind and noticing them leave, sitting with them and noticing their intensity go down, all of these things will help you realize that this isn't something with a mind of its own. These are just behaviors of the mind, and they're things that we can change the direction of. We can't force them away, but we can sit with them. We can step back. And eventually those intrusive thoughts can become less powerful. And distracting is a perfectly good way of going about it. When I'm ruminating, when I am having distressing, intrusive thoughts, I like to think about my favorite fantasy novels. I like to think about the TV shows that I watched last night, or I like to fight dragons in my imagination. Honestly, the more engaging it is, the more you can immerse yourself into it, the more powerful it will be. It's just like meditation. You'll notice your thoughts going somewhere else, and you'll gently divert your attention that spotlight back to a focus. And that focus can be anything. It can be imagination. It can be anticipation. And a great thing to focus on during a massage, this is going to sound sarcastic, but it's not, is the massage. The massage itself can be an excellent meditation focus. Just feeling the contact of your hand against skin. Noticing the glide of that hand. Immersing yourself in what you imagine the client is experiencing. Immersing yourself in the underlying anatomy. What am I feeling? What does this represent? As this body deforms, how is that affecting the rest of the body? As the thoracic cavity changes shape, how is that affecting these nearby structures? So, you can think of it as distraction, you can think of it as meditation, or just mindful massage. This can be an excellent off switch for those thoughts of self-doubt and questioning yourself, and just that intrusive, those blows to your confidence that can sometimes rain down. Because those, something to keep in mind is that those are serving no purpose. You're not giving a better massage because of those thoughts, because of self-doubt. It's not making you be more in the moment, it's making you be less in the moment. So give yourself permission to leave them behind. And whatever happens after the massage is what happens. This isn't something I wrote on my little note card, but it's something that just came back into my brain, and I'm wondering why I didn't write this down. This is so important. Letting the outcome be whatever it's going to be, and attaching no value to it, attaching no anticipation to it. That can be a powerful antidote to this negative self-talk. And a weird thing is that also means good outcomes. The person gets up, they have the best massage ever, they're glowing, they're going to tell all their friends. I do feel good when that happens, but I try not to latch on to those. In Western psychology, grasping, clinging is considered to be the source of a lot of mental pain. And that's something that I really identify with. The more that I try to hold on to those good feelings, the more painful it is the next time I'd go through those rumination cycles again. So instead, these days, I'll let myself have that good feeling from having a successful session. And then I'll let it go and go on with my life. It doesn't make my life worse to let this stuff go. And it's another way of leaving your work at work. If we could let that negative outcome go and let that stay at work, imagine the difference that makes for your home life. If you can let that positive outcome go, feel the good feeling, let it go. And by having this non-judgmental, detached attitude toward outcome, you can more easily immerse yourself in the process. The process is something that I take pride in. The process is something that I allow myself to have some attachment to. Am I giving my best massage right now? I am? Oh, then who cares about the outcome? Of course, I'm going to note the outcome. If there are negative outcomes, I'll make some tweaks. You know what I'm saying. As long as I'm doing my best, that's all I can do. And striving and grasping for these positive outcomes doesn't make them more frequent. It just makes the middling outcomes and the negative outcomes more painful. So that's something to keep in mind. So Candace says, I feel the self-doubt when I get hooked in the belief that I'm the fixer. I think that this fixing mentality is another way that we put expectations on ourselves and on the client. They're a way that we grasp at those outcomes and try our best to hold on to them, even though it's not helping us in any way. Our brain is forward focused on what's going to happen after this person stands up. And all of this stuff is good to keep in mind. It's good to track SOAP notes. It's good to track different approaches, especially for each client, because each client's going to respond differently in the weirdest ways. And so as long as you are putting in your best effort, this fixing mentality, this attachment to client outcome, this attachment to your own power as a healer, as a fixer, can just be distressing. It can be disheartening because so much of it is out of our hands. That is not a massage joke. So much of it is out of our hands. Whether the person's nervous system responds that day, on that particular day, whether the thing that's worked for 100 other clients works with this client. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes those things are out of our power. So allowing yourself to step back from that fixing mentality and to embrace, this is a truth for me, this is something that I've found over my years in massage, that if we create that space, if we apply our hands in a conscientious way for a good duration of time, then good stuff tends to happen. And that has been a constant no matter my approach. And that's hearkening back to my trigger point days. That's hearkening back to the days when I was focused on structural integration, which is the non-trademarked version of Rolfing. And that remains true now that I'm more focused on myofascial type of Swedish. No matter the way that I was approaching the body, I was getting good results. And the common denominator seems to be the environment that I was creating. I do like the way that I'm currently working. I think I'm seeing some neat stuff that I wasn't necessarily seeing before, but I was still getting great results before. So create that space, do your best work, and allow that attachment to the result to kind of fade into the background. Let's see, I'm getting toward my last tip. Psych yourself up. This has been something that's been useful for me when I am just having a pattern of days where I'm just in a bad headspace. I need to start getting myself amped up. And it works for me. I do vocal exercises that I learned when I was 18. I took a semester of voice lessons, and I'll do those in my car. I'll just sing like a maniac. And by the time I get to work, I'm a little amped up. I'm a little out of my head, and it's a good form of distraction. It's a form of kind of very loud meditation. And just when I get to work, I feel different than I would have if I had just sat in my car feeling crappy. Psych yourself up. During the massage, sometimes I will say the most ridiculous things to myself, like, this is the best damn massage you've ever given. The more ridiculous, the better. The more over the top, the better. Something that I want to point out, something that I want to make sure that I give voice to, is that if you are frequently having these negative thoughts, this rumination, these intrusive thoughts, if these are affecting your ability to live your life and they're making your life considerably worse, see somebody about it. You don't have to be at rock bottom to see a therapist. Think about counseling as a way of organizing your thoughts. So I went to this master's program in psychology. I didn't go to the counseling course, but I shared track, but I shared a lot of courses with them. And there was a lot in their education about working with people about professional problems, working with people about relationship problems, about life changes. It doesn't have to be life crushing for you to go to a counselor. So I encourage you, if you're struggling, even if it's not life crushing, see a counselor. That's what they're there for. If you're in college right now, it's probably free. um, I know that's not always possible. Because we all have different insurances. It's difficult, but there are likely resources in your local area that can get you to see a counselor. And just realize that they do have a lot of training in working with people who aren't in crisis. And if you are in crisis, if it's getting difficult to do your job or to live your life, or if you're having thoughts of self-harm, etc., please go see a counselor. Because that's what they're there for. And they can help you kind of organize your thoughts. They can help you take a step back from the rumination, from the distress, and just take a breather and just get some breathing space. So no matter if you're just having some distress or a lot, counseling, man, it's awesome. I love it. So just last few things. Take it slow. Be gentle with yourself. This isn't something that you need to fix today. If you're having self-doubt, if you're questioning the quality of your massage on a daily basis during, every session, and you're finding it distressing, allow yourself to feel your feelings. Don't feel like this needs to be fixed today. Because, one, it's not realistic. I still deal with the self-doubt and the negative self-talk. I found a lot of good coping mechanisms, and it's less automatic than it used to be. It's something that I'm able to notice now and stop earlier in that cycle. But for the time being, just allow it to be. Don't chastise yourself for something that you can't turn off. People tell people who are going through distress, snap out of it. That's not a thing. There's no snapping out of it. You can try with the best massage ever stuff, but and sometimes humor does help. But don't be hard on yourself about something that's already hard. Allow this difficult thing to exist, and don't pile more self-blame and self-castigation on top of it. I think that's important, not just for this, but for just everything that's hard in life. There's no reason to compound it, if you ask me. And yeah, just be kind to yourself. Be as kind to yourself as you would want your client to be to themselves. I mean this about mental stuff. I mean this about physical stuff. If your thumb hurts, do what you would want your client to do in that situation. And it's probably not mash on it for 5 hours straight. You would never want a client to dig into their own thumb for hours at a time, so why do we do it to ourselves? It's the same with emotional stuff. It's the same with how we regard ourselves. Can we be as gentle with ourselves as we would want a good friend to be with themselves? And if you'd like to stick around for the meditation, I recommend to find a nice place to sit. Find a comfortable place. You could lay down. If you find yourself getting sleepy during these meditations, try standing, or try allowing your eyes to be open a crack or open completely. So there's no wrong way, there's no wrong posture for massage, or for meditation. I get this confused a lot, which ain't a bad thing. There's no wrong focus. There's no wrong way to breathe. You don't need to change how you breathe drastically. You don't need to change how your mind is acting drastically. If your mind is active, if you've got recurrent thoughts, if you've got rumination, you can stay in that headspace. If you feel like you're meditating wrong because of the activities of your mind, then that's just, more negativity that you're layering on existing distress, and that's not necessary. So allow your brain to be how it is. Allow your body to be how it is. If you've got pain, don't feel like you can't meditate if you've got chronic pain. Don't feel like you can't meditate if you're depressed. Meditation isn't going to fix those things, but those things won't prevent a good session. If you have a very distracted session, if you have one where you just can't seem to stay on your focus, that's fine too. It's still fruitful, it's still useful, even if it's not, necessarily your ideal, not necessarily what most people would consider the ideal session. I say let go of that stuff. And if you've taken that 10 minutes, you've done yourself a favor. And you've done some exercise that will, over time, allow you to become more aware of the activities of your mind and to gently divert, to gently change the destination of where your mind is traveling. So whatever happens, happens. If you do ever find yourself in distress while meditating, then feel free to stop. If you find that you are not enjoying it, stop for that day. So, no wrong way to do it. So, find this nice place. Find what's comfortable for you. And gently breathe. Bring your awareness to your breath. And at the very beginning here, I like to do a quick tour of my body. I like to take that spotlight of attention and bring it to my abdomen and see if there's any tightness there. And if you find tightness in your abdomen, you can choose to release it, you can choose to leave it, but now it's a choice. Now that it's within your attention, it's something that you can change if you'd like. Bring your attention up to your shoulders and to your traps. See if there's any tension there, any stress. And if there is, you can choose to allow it to melt away. Same thing with your neck. The same thing with your forehead, your face, your jaw. If there's any tension there, you can allow it to melt away. And gently bring your attention back to your breath. You can choose to focus on the movement of your abdomen. You can choose to focus on the movement of your chest, or the movement of the air as it goes into and out of your nose or mouth. You can choose to visualize your diaphragm as it descends and ascends. And allow that attention to stay there for however long it will, because eventually your attention will flit about. It will be diverted in this direction or that, to a bodily sensation, or to a memory, or to the future, to plans or ideas. Just anything that diverts your attention, just notice that. Allow yourself to take notice of it without judgment, without labeling it. It's not a good or bad thought, it's just a thought. And then you can gently redirect that spotlight of your attention back to your focus, back to your breath. And that can be all you do when you meditate. You can set aside 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or even longer. Notice when your mind goes about its business. Notice as it changes its focus. And then just gently bring it back. You might need to do it once in a minute, but that would be unusual for me. It's more like 10 times. Sometimes I stay distracted for a full 3 or 4 minutes before I notice that my mind has wandered. And that's okay. I eventually notice, and I'm able to notice without judgment and gently bring my attention back to my breath. That doesn't mean that you've had a bad session. That's just how meditation goes. That's how the mind works. The mind has its own behaviors. And it's something that we can become more aware of. In practicing drawing that attention back to a focus, it's like massage. It's not something that helps you in one technique. It's not something that has its power in one session. But over meditating for days and weeks and years, it becomes easier to choose where your attention goes. And it becomes easier to notice those automatic behaviors of the mind. And so today, if you'd like to, you can bring your attention to that sensation of negative self-talk that sometimes happens during massage. It might be a question of, am I giving a good massage? Or does this person hate my massage? If you choose to make that your focus, you may notice yourself turning away from that negativity. You may notice yourself putting a judgment on that as a bad thought. And I ask for this meditation and for the future when you're experiencing this, try just allowing that thought to sit there. Bring the spotlight of your attention to that thought and to the attendant emotions might be distressing. It might be annoying, or might feel like shame. Just notice that. Allow it to be. If you feel distress, try sitting with it. Not drawing it close, not pushing it away, just sitting. And as you do so, continue breathing. Over time, it becomes easier to notice when your emotions create physical reactions. If sitting with that thought of, my client hates this massage, if sitting with that caused you to tense up, just notice that. And now you can choose whether to keep that tension, just like you'll be able to do in future massages if you get into a negative head loop. You can notice if it creates a physical reaction in your body, in your shoulders, in your abdomen, and you can allow it to melt away. As we all know, the physical can be an avenue to the mental. So giving your body that parasympathetic activation, that feedback that you're in a safe place, that can have a reciprocal relationship with your mental state. It can remove some of that sting from that negative self-talk. So continuing to breathe, check back in on that negative thought, that not good enough thought, that thought that this isn't going well. And notice, as you breathe, whether that intensity has gone down, that intensity of those emotions that tend to co-occur. Just make a note of it. Now that you've sat with it for a while, you've allowed yourself to feel your feelings. Allow yourself to let it go. All of it. Whether you consider it a positive outcome or a negative outcome. Let that float by like a cloud. The cloud might briefly cast a shadow, but it eventually moves on. And that's something that we can make note of. And gently bring your attention back to your breath. If you'd like to continue on with the meditation, you can pause the video. Keep it going for however long you want. But you can also choose to allow your awareness to slowly come back to your physical sensations, to the pressure of the seat under you, to the sensation of gravity, of the air against your skin, the light filtering in through your eyelids, and the ambient noises of the room. And if you'd like to, you can start moving your hands and eventually stretch Feels good. All right. I appreciate everyone's time and attention and kindness. And yeah, I'm going to peace out, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much.